Thank you for making time for us today. We appreciate it in your busy schedule.
North Carolina is important, man.
Going into tonight, what makes you so confident you'll win this important state?
Well, I'm not so confident. I'm superstitious. I've run a number of times. I don't count a win until I break through the tape. But I feel good about North Carolina. The turnout's been incredible. The turnout has been higher than any time before. And the American people are out speaking in the middle of this crisis that we have in a pandemic, as well as the unemployment situation. So look, presidents don't get to pick who gets to vote. Voters get to pick who's president. And I'm counting on them.
Well, speaking of the voters, North Carolina has given some extra time until November 12th for all those absentee ballots to be counted. Why is it so important that all those votes are counted?
Well, it's important. Look, as I said, presidents don't get to decide who gets to vote. Voters vote and decide who's president. The idea that because we're in the middle of a pandemic, people have used absentee ballots that are thoroughly appropriate, like the president did an absentee ballot, at least he did before, I assume he did again, it's totally legitimate. And you have to have time to count it. Some states like Florida count them as they come in, so they've been counting them. Other states that are new to this whole idea of absentee ballots in large scale, they don't allow that. So you got to wait till it's counted. As the old expression goes, it's not over till it's over. Everybody has a right to be heard. And it's expected that more people are going to vote in this election than any election in American history. Any election. They expect over 150 million people voting. So people want to be heard and they have a right to be heard.
With such a big turnout going into tonight, what is your benchmark to decide when you'll declare victory or admit defeat?
When the votes are counted. Now, there are a number of states that could come in and they count early. They count they count their absentees ahead of time. For example, if states that are in play this time that never were before, Florida, Georgia, Texas, Arizona, a whole lot of states that weren't in play before, including North Carolina for Democrats, hadn't been in play for a while. They're in play now, so the numbers could come in quicker, and it gets down to the states that are toss-up states. You could have an answer, even though all the votes weren't counted in a single state, because so many electoral votes had already been accumulated. But it remains to be seen. I'm not counting on anything other than allowing all the votes to be counted.
So the Triad is the birthplace of the sit-in movement, and race relations have always been one of the top voting issues right here. Can you hear me, sir?
No, I got turned up a little. I'm sorry. Hang on a second.
No problem.
All right, try it again. I'm sorry, Ben.
No problem. Everyone has Zoom issues these days. It's just life in 2020. So the Triad is the birthplace of the sit-in movement, and race relations have always been a top voting issue for our area. What will you do to help cross that racial divide?
Well, number one, I come from a state that has the 8th largest percent of African Americans in the United States of America as voters, as citizens. And, I've always had great relations, and I've been able to bring together the African American community, the police community, and everyone else. What I'm going to do as President of the United States is make sure that we provide for real opportunity, not just to deal with criminal justice, but also deal with the issue of access to accumulation of wealth. So what I'm going to be doing, and I've proposed is first-term home buyers would be able to get up to $15,000 in a tax credit, allowing them to buy a home. We're going to invest in community black colleges, mainly black and minority colleges, HBCUs, so that they can in fact generate the laboratories they need for the jobs of the future. So they have that ability. I'm going to make sure as well that we're in a situation where we find that we invest in education in Title I schools, school district, so that every 3, 4, and 5-year-old can go to school, not the daycare center. That increases the prospect of success, no matter what their zip code is, over 58%. There's so many things we have an opportunity to do. And we have a new generation, the young millennials as well as Generation Z. They're the most open, they're the most willing, they're the least prejudiced generation, in American history. And I think we have an opportunity to do so much positive with regard to race relations in this country that we can really change the nature of how people get along and how economies grow.
So,
And that's the time we have today. Thank you so much for having us.
real quick, what's your 10-second pitch to voters on why they should pick you?
What's my
10-second pitch.
Number one, I'm going to eliminate COVID. I have a plan. I'm going to beat COVID. I'm not closing the environment. Number two, I will protect your health care in the midst of this crisis. Number three, I'm going to make sure that we make things in America. We're going to make sure that there's not a single contract led by the federal government that isn't to a company that has every single product they use a made in America product. It is estimated by Moody's on Wall Street that I will create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than the president could create, and grow the economy by $1 trillion. We have such enormous opportunities to move this country forward. We're better positioned than any country in the world to own the 21st century.
Thanks again for your time, sir.
Thank you for your time. Sorry for the mix-up.